It looks like we have a good number of people here. We're getting ready to go ahead and begin. Our host today is Miss Danielle White, a regional manager. Danielle, your mic is on if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good morning. Thank you, Corey. Good morning and good afternoon to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Danielle White. I'm a regional sales manager for DILO Company, and off camera is Corey Ratzer, our sales director. Today marks the 4th episode for our webinar series. Our webinars have been a really great, helpful tool to help us stay in touch during a time that we're trying to transition back to normal. Today's webinar is going to feature the 038R RV2 multi-analyzer. This is the latest analyzer in our catalog. During today's meeting, we're going to review the progression of DILO test equipment, introduce you to the latest device, and perform a brief demonstration. Due to the number of people on the call, we politely ask that you keep your microphones muted. We do encourage you to ask questions as they may come along. You can ask questions by utilizing the chat feature in the MS Teams application or by raising your hand in the application. Should you raise your hand, Corey will call on you to ask your question, and we'll do our best to make sure that everyone's questions are answered. If for some reason you think of a question and the webinar has already wrapped up, feel free to shoot us an email at sales@dilo.com and we'll do our best to get back with you. Before we get started with the demonstration, we're just going to start off with a very brief presentation. To give you a bit of a background history, DILO's been in the industry for 70 years. We just celebrated our 70th anniversary, and we have over 50 years of experience with providing SF6 maintenance equipment. At DILO, we have a commitment to our customers and the environment to provide emission-free solutions. It's very important that we stay up to date with the regulatory updates in the industry and follow the changing needs of our customers. It's important that we remain flexible and adapt to these changes by implementing the latest technology available. Implementing the latest technology is going to help the operation of our equipment in the field to operate smoother and to help keep our users safe. The release of the V2 multi-analyzer is the perfect example as to how a staple in our catalog was redesigned and updated to meet the needs of our customers and basically simplify operation. This device was released in Q1 of this year, and while it uses the same sensor technology as the previous model, it was updated with a fresh makeover and a new user interface. Before we get started with looking at the details for the V2 multi-analyzer, let's take a look back just to see how far we've come along. In the beginning, our first analyzers were single function units. That meant that we had dedicated analyzers for each contaminant type when testing SF6. With regard to the device for SO2 determination, the first version of our analyzer used test tubes for determining contaminant levels. While using the test tubes were very simple and straightforward to use in the field to test the breakers, it only gives you really an estimated result as to how much contaminants are inside of the breaker. And the device is not The innovation of this device to the latest R103 decomposition analyzer included an electromechanical sensor for increased accuracy, and there was also a port based in the back of the device to capture gas measurements with using an external analyzer discharge bag. With the SF6 moisture analyzer, the first moisture analyzer that we had on the market used an aluminum oxide sensor for moisture determination, and the innovation of this product, we changed to a capacitive polymer sensors, again for increased accuracy. The innovation of our single test units allowed us to birth our first multifunction analyzers. The first multifunction analyzers were the 3-036 and the 3-038 models. This was the first time that we had an all-in-one solution for testing the complete parameters of SF6. This is really important because it helps users to confirm quality, determine if PPE is needed for handling, and detect cross-contamination. 2010 marked the release of the 038R multi-analyzer, and this was a monumental shift in the design of our test equipment. For the first time, we had an integrated recovery system inside of the unit to capture gas measurements. So this meant no more venting to the atmosphere. The user had the option to transfer measurements back to the source container, which meant the circuit breaker or an external cylinder. This device was on the market for several years and had quite a good success rate with our customers. A lot of our customers still use this unit to this day. In 2017, our multi-analyzer saw another makeover, and this change was really important because it's the first time that we truly used feedback from firsthand experience in the field from our customers to make changes to a device. The VO saw lots of benefits and lots of changes, which included a more compact and lightweight design, an improved touchscreen to deal with sun glare while working in the field, an increased inlet pressure of 500 psi, 3 different pathways for measurement storage, and an option for battery operation. We further went on to the V1, which included an additional benefit of including a router, and purchase of the device included automatic enrollment into our Direct Connect subscription service. This is for our customers based in North America and the Caribbean. For those of you that are unfamiliar with Direct Connect, it's really a subscription service that allows basically our DILO technicians to remote into the device to access real-time system information. And having access to this real-time information helps us to help you better. This is really important because SF6 maintenance equipment typically isn't used daily. So if you're working in the field, you might need some pointers or guiders. And it can also help as well if you have new staff or new personnel that are working with you. So with the V2 multi-analyzer, what exactly is new with this unit? Well, for starters, we moved the battery placement to the top of the front panel for easy access. This means that the battery can be safely disconnected if you needed to transport the unit for any reason. The software within the touchscreen was updated to simplify operation. Climate data is now saved with each and every measurement, and trend analysis is available for each sensor type. Similar to our other pieces of test equipment, the V2 version also has a 2-year maintenance interval for calibration. It's really important that we're making sure that we're calibrating our equipment when maintenance is due, as it helps to confirm that the device is working within spec, and it also ensures that the measurements are concise. While it is possible to exchange these sensors on site, for our customers in North America and the Caribbean, we highly recommend that the device is returned to our calibration center here in Odessa, Florida. This maintenance, or this service, I should say, has several benefits, which includes a 2-time system check with calibrated gases by a trained technician, and the full system check is also going to include a pressure sensor check and a leak check. We'll also upgrade the software if it is available. We will repair and replace any defective parts, and all of the work has a guarantee for 1 year. So what sets apart our test equipment from the others? Well, for starters, our equipment uses the same sensor technology that's known and trusted throughout our line of equipment. You'll know that you have a quality device made to last by a global pioneer. We'll also auto-enroll you into our Direct Connect service. That means that a DILO technician will be there to guide you when you are operating the equipment. And your regional sales manager and after-sales team will support you throughout the lifetime of the equipment as well. There's also an option for on-site or virtual training following delivery, and you can always contact your regional sales manager for more information for that service. Before we begin the demonstration, does anyone have any questions for us?
Just a reminder to everyone, if you have questions throughout this demonstration, you can use the chat feature in MS Teams. We're also going to save time at the end for questions as well. Danielle, we do have one question that came through.
Okay.
So this is a multi-analyzer. If you were to buy it with a single function sensor, can you add sensors to it over time?
Absolutely. The device can handle up to 6 sensors for different contaminant types.
Thank you. That's all the questions we have right now.
Perfect. So here we have our V2 multi-analyzer. Right now we're in our training room with our test breaker. We're connected to our multi-analyzer. And for today's demonstration, we're simply going to measure the gas and move our gas measurement into this external collection bag. So as we look at the front panel of the unit, you can see that we've made lots of different changes. For starters, we have designated compartments for the adapters with the analyzer, which are DN8 and DN20. As we go along the front panel of the device, we have port 101 for moving measurements in and out of. The device has a maximum inlet pressure of 500 psi and an output pressure of 145 psi. Moving along to port 102, this port is dedicated for measurements to be pumped back into. You can connect a low pressure external cylinder here. Moving along, we have pump 103, and this is where our external bag is connected, and we can move measurements in and out of this bag as well. Moving along the front panel, we have a connection for a USB. This is to download results that are saved inside of the device for later review on a PC or a tablet. And we also have a connection for our router. Although you can't really see it on the screen, we have a compartment for the battery that was moved to the top. As we said, we can disconnect that if needed. Our power button and our status button for our battery. Our device is currently plugged in and it is charging. So if we look at the touch screen, you'll see that everything that's needed to operate the device is on one screen, which is different from the previous version. There's a diagram or a model of the carrying case at the front panel, and there's also climate data for the ambient settings that are going on right now. We are connected to our breaker at port 101, and it's currently showing a pressure of 61.8 psi. And you do have an option on the front screen to label your measurement. We've already labeled the previous measurement with a test name from our breaker, and we've added some information regarding the serial number and where this breaker is located. So this really helps you if you needed to record the data and go back to it for any reason. On the right-hand side, we have our readings for our different sensor types. For this device, it's showing for purity, moisture, and SO2. It is possible to change the pass or fail values for these sensors. You'll have to be logged in with a special profile in order to do so. But when you receive the unit, it will be, you'll basically receive it with C-Gray standards already basically set for the device for the pass fail values. Moving along to the right, we have our function button for where you can basically perform the measurement, pump the gas back, and there's also some special functions as well. I won't talk about all of the special functions just for today's sake, but I'll just go into some of them that you may use more frequently. First, for starters, we have the purging of the measuring hose. Now, the hose is automatically purged before you run a measurement. However, if you wanted to run this function manually, you can by selecting this function. Moving along, we have drying of the device, and this function basically works to dry the internal piping of the unit if the unit was sitting around for quite some time without being used. This is helpful because it will make sure that when you run your measurement, you're not getting skewed results. For the last special function we're going to talk about, it's purging of the SO2 sensor. So basically, if you go to run a test and the SO2 is detected, the device is automatically going to purge the SO2 sensor until the reading reaches less than 1 ppm or for 5 minutes, whichever occurs first. If after 5 minutes the sensor is still showing 1 ppm or greater, you can run this function manually, basically to continue to purge that sensor. Just going to go back to the home screen, and we're going to perform a measurement. So right now we're connected to our test breaker, and we have our external bag selected for us to run our measurement. And I'm going to go ahead and start the function. And as the function is starting, you're going to see that the hose is automatically being purged. And as the pump kicks on, you'll see that the highlighted pathways the pathways that we chose, moving the gas from the breaker to the bag, are highlighted in green. Now it could take up to 8 minutes to receive results for the test. The purity and SO2 sensor typically stabilize rather quickly, while it does take some time for the moisture sensor to stabilize. The colors that you're seeing to the left of the reading basically are indicating whether or not the result passes or fails. For green, it's passing. For red, it means that the result is not passing our set parameter. Due to the time that it takes to run a measurement, we're just going to talk about some other features while this measurement's going. If we go into the settings, into the display, we can see that we can adjust the brightness if needed if we're working out in the field. You can also remove that climate data that's on that front panel with the carrying case diagram. Moving forward for our error message screen, here's where you would see any errors that may come up with the device. Maybe someone accidentally overpressurized the unit, and here you can see exactly what date and time that error occurred. Here we have our data archive where we can review past measurements. The device can store up to 500 measurements inside of the unit, and as you can see, each measurement has a date and time stamp and also has that climate data feature that we talked about earlier. As far as the measurements are concerned, the only person that has the authority or access to delete measurements is a supervisor profile, which we will talk about next. With the device, you do have the option to create different user profiles. This is really helpful if you want to make sure that only trained personnel are using the unit. If we go back to the home screen, we can see that we are connected to the Wi-Fi, and right below it, it gives a date and time stamp with the current status of the battery, which is at 88%. And since our test is still going, for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and pause it. The device is asking me if I'm okay with interrupting the measurement. Yes. And I wanted to show you another neat little feature that we have with Direct Connect. So say, for instance, I'm working in the field and I've run into an error message that I'm unable to clear. I can contact our after sales department, have them remote into the unit to either clear that message or help me operate the unit. So right now, I just basically indicated to after sales, my assistant Ryan is going to basically remote into the device, and he's going to perform the pump back feature, showing that pumping back the gas from our external bag back to the source container. As you can see, there's now an arrow on the screen. Ryan's completely operating the device himself. I'm not doing anything, no hands. He's selecting the pump back feature. He's going to make sure that we're pumping back to our breaker. He's selecting our breaker. And the gas will be moving from the bag to our source compartment. And he's just started that process for us. So as you can hear, the pump has cut on. We have our pathways highlighted in green, showing that the gas from our bag is moving to our source container. And you can slowly see that our pressure at our inlet is slowly increasing, showing that the gas is moving from the bag back to the breaker. Thank you, Ryan. I'm going to go ahead and stop this. And next, we'll talk a little bit about the available accessories for the unit. So for starters, we have our analyzer compressor. This tool is really helpful for testing low pressures of SF6. Usually when new circuit breakers are delivered to a customer site, they're delivered with just a slight pressure, usually 5 psi and below. So the inlet of the V2 analyzer has a minimum inlet pressure of 0.2 bar or 3 psi. So this compressor is going to help to move that residual gas to the inlet so that you can test those low pressures. The next accessory for the unit is the external analyzer bag. This is the device that we moved our initial measurement into. This bag is really helpful as it helps to basically provide a lightweight storage option for storing samples while you're working in the field. The bag can hold roughly 25 measurements, and it can be safely emptied by using any DILO recovery system, or you can simply connect the device to port 103 on the V2 analyzer and perform the pump back function, and it will go ahead and empty that bag for you. The next accessory or add-on that we have for the V2 analyzer is our analyzer adapter kit, which was recently updated. We've done our best to eliminate NPT as much as possible. Each one of our fittings has been leak tested, and then we basically mark them as leak tested, basically before we ship them out to our customers. The set also includes a 5-meter wire braided hose and a regulator with a stainless steel diaphragm. This is really important because typically regulators have a rubber diaphragm, and rubber tends to hold on to moisture, which means that when you're filling or topping off breakers, you could accidentally cross-contaminate. So we've changed the diaphragm to stainless steel to help offset that. And also the kit will come with basically a diagram letting you know exactly what the pieces are in case you need to order duplicates. And there is a set of instructions for how to connect to the breaker, to external cylinders for using the set. Recently, we've also begun including extra covering caps in the adapter set. That way, if you accidentally lose one while you're working in the field, you have extras waiting for you. That's basically all I have for the V2 demonstration, unless anyone has any questions for me.
Great, Danielle. Just a reminder to everyone, you can use the chat feature to enter in questions, or at this time, if you wanted to unmute your mic and ask for a question directly, you're more than welcome to do that as well. Danielle, we do have one question. Is there a special app required to run wireless operation on a smart device?
Yes. In order to run the wireless operation, first you would need to connect to the device's Wi-Fi, and there's instructions for that in the operational manual. And next, you would need to download the VNC Viewer app in order to run basically any wireless operation using the unit.
Great, thank you. So the next question is, can you recap the minimum inlet pressure as well as the maximum inlet pressure?
Yes, so the maximum inlet pressure for the device is 500 psi, and the minimum inlet pressure is 0.2 bar or 3 psi.
Great, thanks. So we have a couple more questions. Can you enable password protection on the unit?
Yes, you can. In the user profile setting, you can enable a setting basically to make it so that a password must be entered before using the device after turning it on.
Great, thank you. And it looks like we have one final question. Is it possible to adjust the pass-fail parameters on the unit?
Yes, it is possible to adjust the pass-fail parameters. You can adjust it to meet your internal policies. You'll need a special login to do so. The information is in the user manual, or if you need help or assistance with it, you can call us, our after-sales department, and they can walk you through the process as well.
Great, that looks like all the questions we have for right now.
Okay, thank you all so much for taking the time to join us today. I do want to remind everyone to please be on the lookout for more information regarding our SF6 gas management seminar. That's coming up in November later on this year. And we also have some news to share. We've recently started an online training program called DILO Academy, and you can find more information regarding that training opportunity as well on our website. Thank you so much for joining us today.
We're getting ready to end the stream. Thanks again. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye. No questions?